Hello, everybody. Welcome to MUFC Spotlight. Welcome to the Full Time Sports Network. Welcome to everybody that is on Twitter. I am Colm. You will have seen me plenty of times before. And I am joined today by the wonderful Irishman, Rebel. How are you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, Colin. Not too bad at all. Quick question for you. Was that a soon-to-be departed Manchester United player, Jadon Sancho, in that intro?
Yes. Yes, it was. I made the intro a while ago before I set up this channel, and now I'm going to have to completely change it. But that is fine. I have no issues with that whatsoever.
Sturdy.
I'm going to have it. I'm going to end it, I think, with our trio of Haaland, Garnacho, and Mainu, where they're all sitting on the board.
Haaland? Has he transferred from City?
Hoyland. I said Hoyland.
You said Haaland, mate.
Oh, well. I've been at work all day. It's been a long day. Okay.
I forgive you, but you know better than to let things slip in front of me, aka Stevie G, Colum.
Yes, yeah, I know. God. Anyway, we are here to talk Manchester United, Rebel, and I do have the topics here with me today. I love this thing. This is amazing. I love using this. So we are going to cover Ten Hag, potentially Ten Hag's last game, who we think is going to be next in line for the job. The news that Yapstan may be coming back to Manchester United. Obviously, a summer rebuild and our thoughts on the FA Cup final, which is this weekend coming. We're actually going to start straight away. I'm not going to dick about. And obviously, we're going to start at the top there. Manchester United planning the summer without Erik Ten Hag. Now, there are a lot of reports out there from certain people, bigger channels than us, and social media gurus, etc., even really popular people that everybody goes to for transfer news, who are saying that Manchester United have not yet made this decision. Now, we obviously have our own sources that we speak to, and we are getting the information that the decision has been made, and they don't expect Ten Hag to be at Manchester United within a week or two after the FA Cup final. Obviously, we are both Ten Hag out, Rebel. I think we've made it quite clear we're not happy with his managerial style and the way he does things, and especially the performances. But what are you expecting from obviously the whole week or two, judging by what we're being told anyway?
Well, I'm going to use the Louis van Gaal, the previous Dutch manager that got sacked from Manchester United. And if you remember, there was this iconic moment that he placed FA Cup on table and basically paraded it in front of the media and said, "Look what I done." And I think he was gone within 24 hours. So would it surprise me to have a repeat of that? Absolutely not. Now, you mentioned sources good and bad. Like, there's one lad, Mr. Sam Lockhurst of the Manchester Evening News, who's basically proclaiming that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is essentially doing a Princess Bride and saying, "My name's Iko Montoya, you've ruined my club, prepare to be sacked." And I paraphrase there a bit, but there's others then that are kind of urging caution, but I suppose you're always going to get that in the round with the media. Something I always kind of use as a baseline is a bookie will always make sure that their odds are covered to the point that they're not going to get burned by the events that transpire. We've seen massive shifts in bookie odds throughout the last number of weeks with manager A, manager B, manager C, and now a sacked Chelsea manager is currently heading that particular betting pool. But for me, I think what we'll see a very difficult final being played on Saturday in Wembley. We're going to see a number of players playing their very last game for Manchester United because they won't be part of the squad next year. for whatever reason. And we're probably going to see Eric Ten Hag leave the dugout for the final time, whether it's with a trophy or without a trophy, because I think what we've seen so far, the evidence that we can base on him, is that he's attempting to sweep clean in all facets of the decision-making process. And I think Ten Hag, even if he wasn't as criticised and critiqued as he was, would be in a very difficult position given the changing of the reins of power.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, we do get certain information, probably different information what other people are getting. But I have been told from a very reliable person and a very reliable source that I do fully back. They have been looking at the data this season, and there is nothing really there backing Manchester United to keep Eric Ten Hag at the club any further than this season, regardless of the fact that it's the second time going to Wembley, in the FA Cup final back to back, and obviously he did win a trophy last year. When it comes to other managers in and around his area, his analytics, his data, and his stats don't quite match up to the others, which is obviously when Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, we all know Sir Jim looks at what's best for the club. He will look at analytics and stuff like that. He's going to take focus on this, especially with the people that are coming in. Dan Ashworth, Barada, all these people, they all look at the stats. And I think this is going to have a very big influence on their final decision.
I agree with you, Colin, and I'm going to play devil's advocate for a moment because I want your team thoughts on this. Obviously, back in the day, Sir Alex Ferguson was probably on the cusp of getting told, "You're not doing the job, son. Time to move you on." And he delivered a crucial cup victory, which many say was the beginning of his redemption and obviously eventually his dominance of English football for a number of years. If you look at the time that Sir Alex's team was struggling, and you compare this now to the second season cataclysm that was this season for Eric Ten Hag, you could be forgiven for drawing a lot of comparatives from Ferguson on the verge of getting kicked out the door, has won a cup, saves his job, gets to start the following season, and kicks on from there. If he's to beat a much fancied 115 charge FC, as the Silver One has mentioned, and brings a back-to-back FA Cup, and allowing for the fact that there's going to be people of intense determination in that higher level, could you be forgiven for giving him a chance if you're Sir Jim Ratcliffe?
I mean, I think so. If he does do it, but let's actually be honest here, Rebel. He's had chance after chance after chance already this season. There would have been plenty of times where teams would have got rid of managers because of these results. And maybe they do give him a chance. I won't begrudge him. If he does get another chance, then it is literally last straw chance for me. But I don't think he is the right man. I really don't. We are not seeing any progression. If anything, we've seen regression. Yes, we overachieved last season massively. Don't get me wrong. But we've brought Ten Hag in to play a certain style of football. Now, he got rid of one of the best shot stoppers in the Premier League in David De Gea and brought in Onana, who struggles to catch a cold. And we brought him in so we can play football out from the back. Have you seen that happen this season?
That is true. We haven't seen that happen. And I'm going to, again, play devil's advocate just to get your viewpoint on this. That goalkeeper that you mentioned is currently still without a club after 12 months. Nobody seems to want to touch him for whatever reason. And if you look at the back four combinations, we've had the most ludicrous amount of different combinations due to an absolute farcical amount of injuries. So when you see teams playing up from the back, it's usually when they have a settled back four, maybe one or two coming in and out, depending on squad rotation to keep them fresh for bigger games. But you never see a ginormous shift. It's usually there's a core there, there's two supporting articles that come in and out, either by substitution or starting a Leicester game in a European week, and they know exactly what each other wants from each other. But when you have, I think it was 40 back four combinations in a season, it's impossible to establish that confidence and that rapport between your goalkeeper and those defenders, because he's looking at a different jackass in front of him every single day.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from there. I really do. But again, and I'm going to completely argue, because this is what you want me to do, Erik ten Hag got rid of the goalkeeper before sorting out the defence. That's a no-no. If you've got a solid goalkeeper at the back who's winning the Golden Glove, bearing in mind, why get rid of him before you've sorted out your back line? Your goalkeeper can wait. Your back line can't. So I'll argue that back.
Fair enough. And speaking of defenders, and I suppose the last thing that I really want to kind of get your opinion on with the defenders is Diego Dalot probably has done something that's more worthy of the captaincy in the last week in terms of his interview than we've seen from probably Bruno Fernandes in front of the media of late. Is there an argument, especially if Ten Hag is no longer our manager, and it is in fact his last game, as your topic suggested, for Dalot to wear that armband if we're completely overhauled?
I mean, I wouldn't argue against Dalot being it. He's been by far one of our better players this season. When we've needed him, he's shown up. He has turned up. He's been quite solid at the back as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't actually say no to Dalot being captain. But again, it all depends on who we bring in. Because if we bring in a natural leader, then obviously that might be a shout for maybe not straight away, but, maybe for the captaincy role, depending on who it is. Because I know we're going for proven Premiership players as well.
Can I just say, we have in the past brought in a proven Premier League player and slapped the captaincy straight on him. And we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, good old Harry Maguire, who actually has been playing very well for us recently, to be fair. I will give him his props there. I just want to say hello to the Silver One. He says, I truly hope you upset the 115 FC. I care more about the integrity of the game than I do online banter. Come on, United. And he's also saying, plus you two are my favourite Man United fans. Thank you, Silver One. You are one of our favourite Arsenal fans as well. It's always a pleasure talking to you, Silver. Well, Tony, I'll call you. We're going to move on to the next. You know what? I keep doing this. It's because I'm on the MUFC Spotlight channel. We're not actually partnered up with them. It's FTSN. That's partnered up with them. I still don't have it. But go to Rafe Energy. They are proud partners of Full Time Sports Network. They do many, many flavors. We do drink a lot of it, to be fair, myself and Rebel. Rebel's got another tub there. And you will get 10% off your order if you use code FTSN22 on your order, and they do ship worldwide. So do check that out.
Actually, Colin, before you go on to the next topic, we did tease something last week. Have they reached the goal?
No.
No? Okay.
No,
so
they haven't.
They'll have to wait then.
They will have to wait. If they get to it by the end of today, we'll see.
What did we say? Was it 20 subs?
20 subs by the end of the show. We are currently, if you bear with me 1 second, I don't think we're far off, to be fair. We're on 14 currently.
Okay.
So we're not far off. So yeah, 20
6 more,
subs. 6 more. That's all you need is 6 more. But we are going to move on to the next topic now. And obviously, who next for the job? Rebel. I feel like this is deja vu. I really, really do. We have got some names, and I have got them here for you. Maurizio Pochettino recently just walked away from the Chelsea job yesterday. Gareth Southgate, Thomas walked. Apparently, it was mutual. Apparently, Thomas Tuchel and McKenna. Any of them take your fancy?
I'll be honest with you, it's like watching the Teletubbies looking at those four names, because I think they're all probably as damaged as each other at this point. Obviously, McKenna has been a coach at club and has done good things with Ipswich. He's brought him back to the promised land, and he's obviously deserving of an opportunity maybe to move up in the world. But I'd like to see him get a season in Premier League under his belt with Ipswich, just to give him a taste for the big job in the big occasion and the pressure that delivers. Gareth Southgate, just hell no, don't want him. He has questionable temperament in terms of sticking with his decisions, whether wrong or right. We all remember the Kobe Manu farce with England. He chose not to select him, even though many felt, and correctly so, that he was due for a call because he had been playing so well. And when the pressure came on and he couldn't sustain dealing with that pressure, he balked and he reneged in his own decision, which for me is a streak that I do not like in my managers. I like a manager that will take advice, but he should have been listening to that advice before every first England squad was announced that time, and Kobe should have been in or out at that stage, and the decision should have been stuck with. But that for me is a red flag in terms of Southgate and his management, and he'll be expected to make a lot more big decisions in Premier League football than the 4 times in a year that they get together for various international breaks. Tuchel is a bit of a journeyman at this stage. Sure, he's won Champions League, but at the same time, there must be a reason why all these clubs are saying, nah, and he's having to leave after 18 to 24 months. And that leaves Mauricio Pochettino. Probably the manager that I'd have wanted many, many years ago after Southampton had a successful stint with him. His stint then gone to Tottenham, and he did all right there. Let's be fair. He was solid. He got stuff done for them. Then there was the absolute disaster that is the toxic environment that is PSG management, because there's either no autonomy decision making, and then they're saying there is when they're star players, and he just did not cope with the big names very well, the Messis, the Mbappes, and all these lads, and he essentially had Leonardo taking over all the decision making leading up to game. And then Chelsea, his chance at redemption, his chance to prove that, a bit like another former PSG manager who's currently at Aston Villa, that he's been wronged. And 1 year into 2-year contract, no, you're not for us. Now, Todd Bowley is a bit of a langer, to be honest with you, but that is beside the point. I think you've got one with no experience really at Premier League level, and then you've got 3 that all have reasons why we shouldn't be appointing him.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. I am going to put some Manchester United fans at ease. Gareth Southgate is not in the running for the job at Manchester United. He has decided to stay on at England for the next 2 years, obviously depending on what happens in Euros anyway. If he decides if they decide they're going to get rid of him, then they get rid of him. But he's not in the running for Manchester United, but he is on the betting, so I have left him on there. But just to ease some minds there. My thoughts, I don't want a single one of them personally, but I will back every single one of them when they come in, or if they come in. I think we should be really looking at Nagelsmann's, Alonso's, Allegri, these kind of managers, Hansi Flick. I think these people are probably the better people, but Pochettino, I will give him a little bit of credit, even though he's not my first choice. He did start to turn things around at Chelsea towards the back end of the season. The Pochettino thing was decided months ago before the form kicked in. Are we counting Poch out too quickly?
I suppose out of the 4 there that you've listed, Poch probably has the most to offer next season in terms of proving that a club was wrong about him. I think you have to kind of discount McKenna from the top job at this stage because of the fact that he really doesn't have any Premier League experience, and it would be a big stretch for any club other than the club that he took to Premier League to take a chance on him next season in that competition. Like you mentioned Xabi Alonso, and I think he's obviously going to do another year and go on the Champions League adventure with Leverkusen next year. But I think if he has any sort of a good season next year, he's nearly destined to be Real Madrid manager because Carlo is going to be either retiring or going for one last change of scenery before that retirement shortly. So I think you can rule him out. What's interesting though is, and I want your opinion on him, a man that has been mentioned with nearly every single Premier League job, the Liverpool job, probably going to be linked to the Chelsea job again. The Sporting Lisbon manager. There seems to be a lot going on around him that people are giving him a wide berth.
Yeah, I think people are giving him a wide berth simply because of the fiasco of the West Ham incident. I think he was pretty much ready to sign on that dotted line, and then all of a sudden everything changed, and nobody really knows why. I think that is why everyone's giving him a wide berth. He's an interesting manager. He's a very interesting manager. Would he be ready for a jump from Sporting Lisbon to Manchester United? I mean, Sporting Lisbon in their own right are a good club, but they are not on the same level as what Manchester United is. Manchester United is global. It's worldwidely known. Sporting, not so much. There's a lot of pressure that comes being Manchester United manager. We've seen very, very good managers crumble. We've seen Ralph Rangnick, who's doing fantastic international football. Louis van Gaal, who had a good reputation. David Moyes had a decent reputation, I suppose. We've seen very, very good managers come in and crumble. Jose Mourinho, for instance, has won something everywhere he has gone, and he couldn't handle the pressure that is there at Manchester United.
Can I ask you this? No, and I think when you're looking at, firstly, that Portuguese manager, you could have the Jose Mourinho effect that he had at Chelsea, and he was the special one, and he delivered trophy after trophy after trophy after trophy. But we also had AVB, who came over similar to Jose with a lot of feathers in his cap, and his story completely contrasted from Jose's first coming into Premier League. And you're kind of looking at this new Portuguese sensation, and you're kind of going, well, he could be Jose, and he could have the effect of Jose, or he might be just another walking disaster that clubs really don't get the best out of. But there is another manager that has been mentioned in connection with a big job, and I want to ask your opinion on him. Vincent Kompany is the latest name, according to Fabrizio Romano, to be interviewed in connection with Bayern Munich to replace Thomas Tuchel. Now, it's probably pie in the sky that Manchester United would go from, given that he has such a blue history. But is he someone that Manchester United should be talking about at the very least?
I mean, they can put him in a discussion, I suppose, but the likelihood of Man United going near him or him even coming anywhere near Manchester United is very, very slim. I think that'd be on the equivalent of Steven Gerrard being linked with the Man United job. I don't see it ever going to happen. And personally, I think from what I've seen of Vincent Kompany, I think his managerial style probably better suits the Bundesliga anyway, to be fair, than the Premier League. I know, obviously, he's had a hard time at Burnley. I mean, they did play some decent football, Burnley, but, I think to do what Alonso's done is probably going to be the better career choice for Company. Go over to that league where you're not really expected to win the league because Bayern Munich are the juggernauts. If you are going over there as the Bayern Munich manager, the only thing you got to worry about is the fact that it's Bayern Munich. You got to win.
I suppose the only question I would say to you, and I'm just conscious that we have still 4 topics to go through, is if Bayern Munich are looking, there's obviously a reason, and apparently they were sniffing around Eric Ten Hag, so there's clearly a reason as to why they are looking and reviewing and considering these people. And are we blind to something, given that we seem to want to dismiss certain players or certain managers that clubs?
You think with the people that were actually getting involved into the club, your Dan Ashworth and everybody, these aren't just, people you've picked up off the street. These are proven people to bring in talent. So if they're saying that these people aren't right, then I'm going to trust them. They know a lot more about it than what I do.
Well, the one thing I would ask you to consider, though, and I'm wondering, is this a problem for us? We've assembled the Avengers, but most of them are sitting at home waiting to be allowed to go into work.
Yes. The Dan Ashworth deal, obviously, we all know what's going on there at the moment. There's lots of legal allegations and battles and everything going off. Dan Ashworth, apparently, from what I've heard, will be starting his role in Manchester United soon, within the next 3-4 weeks, from what I've heard. So hopefully that starts the ball rolling on everything that we need to do. We are going to move on, though, because this one is quite interesting. Jaap Stam could be returning to Manchester United, but in a role that links the board with the coaching staff. Is this a smart idea?
This one is a bit interesting, Colin, because I'm not entirely sure what Jaap Stam has been doing in his career since retiring from football. I know he's appeared every now and again in the media, but has he actually been working in the industry outside of punditry? Could you tell me? Because I think that is a key consideration. Because if you're having a go-between between, I think there's 3 layers in the executive as it is between, actually there's 4. There's Ineos, there's Omar, there's Dan, and then there's the recruitment person from Palestine underneath him again. So if you're adding another layer of runner, it has to be someone that has a bit of experience in Omar's world and that can contribute to them, and also is able to kind of, I suppose, not spite the face of whoever that manager happens to be. So I'm not sure Jaap Stam meets that criteria, other than it being a PR stunt, unless he's been working in the industry.
Jaap Stam has been managing, and I say has been, is been managing a football team called DOS Campen. That's who he's been in charge of. I don't. To be honest with you, they're new. They're a fairly new team, to be fair. I believe. Oh no, 1926, but they've in the Eerste Klasse, where I don't know Dutch football, to be honest with you. It is in the Netherlands, so he has been doing some managerial things over in the Netherlands. I find this a bit strange that he's going to leave a managerial position to come and be somebody that's just in the middle. I don't quite understand why.
I'm looking at this now, and I'm kind of looking at it, and again, Ole, legendary player, had a great career as a player, came in to do a job having had very little experience in top flight football. He was managing in one of the lesser leagues of Europe. And it was kind of to re-establish a so-called connection with the fan base by bringing in one of their heroes. And I fear that what we are looking at here is something similar. Now, if you want to reach a connection with Manchester United, at least look at maybe bringing the likes of a Van Persie or Van Nistelrooy in the capacity of a forward coach or something, and at least then we can see someone that will contribute to what is going on the pitch. Like Yap Stam, I think is completely disconnected from the world, and I think it's a Darren Fletcher role essentially. If that's what they're bringing him in.
Yeah, I think it is, to be fair. Like, we don't really know what he's going to be doing as such because there isn't that much information out about it. But once he actually gets involved, if he does, I'm sure we'll learn more about it. I am just conscious of time as well. So we're going to move on to the summer rebuild of Manchester United because it is going to be a massive project for whoever is in charge. So, I mean, we're going to be busy. We're going to be very, very busy. We're expecting, this is from my source, we're expecting, 3 or 4 minimum new signings, strikers, I think a left back and a right back, centre backs, midfielders, we're going to be looking everywhere. I do have one name for you, though, that I have found out from our source, who has told me to keep an eye on the move of Raul Bellanova, the Torino defender. Big up to Keeler. Hope you are doing well, mate. Do you know anything about this Bellanova?
Until you mentioned his name earlier on today, I didn't have a Scooby-Doo's who he was, other than that I assumed he was Italian, given the surname. And but I need to have a look and see where we're going with this, but because it is clear that we do need left back, and I think it's been documented by Sir Jim Radcliffe in interviews that he's looking at that left back position. But what I want to ask you, Colm, is you mentioned 3 or 4 incomings, but if you just look at the centre back position in isolation, Raphael Varane leaving the club, Johnny Evans retiring from the club, Peter Lindelof more than likely leaving the club, Martinez, his ability to stay fit, given that he's had 2 long-term injuries since arriving at Manchester United Football Club, is in question. So, assuming that Harry Maguire stays and Kambala comes up, we probably need 2 of those in the centre-back area as a minimum.
Yep. Yeah, you're completely right. I'm also being told, there's going to be a lot of competition, but I'm also being told Braithwaite, not saying that he is going to sign for Man United, so I'm not getting clicked there because I'm not saying he is, because there's a lot of clubs involved in the Braithwaite deal. A lot of people want him, but that situation with Braithwaite will be resolved in a couple of weeks. So we might get Braithwaite. I'm hoping we get Braithwaite because he's a good player. He's done fantastic. But yeah, we're going to need a lot of people. A lot of people are going. Let's be honest. A lot of people are going on a free, to be fair. But we are getting rid of quite a few players as well. Just to give you a little bit of insight on this Bellanova kid, he is 24 years old, so he fits into that bracket of the age.
This summer, I believe.
25 this summer, yes. So he does fit into that bracket of young but not too young. He is an Italian Cup winner. He has won the Italian Super Cup and obviously the Italian Youth Cup. He's currently at Torino. It's going to probably cost about £10 million, to be fair, which I think could be a very, very good deal. And he came to Torino from Inter Milan as well.
Interesting. I suppose it's an opportunity for him to come into the Premier League and show that he belongs. I suppose the last wing back that we got from Italian football didn't really set the world on fire, and that was Darmian, if you remember.
Yeah.
Some would say that he was let go too soon and that he was in a hiding to nothing with the team that was around him. But I suppose you could say there's a lot of the same hallmarks for any player that comes in without knowing what the plan is for those key link areas. And speaking of links and sources, that same source that told you about that particular player mentioned one player to me as well, and it is in the striking department. And their agent was present at Manchester United versus Arsenal not too long ago. And I said to him, "Oh, does this happen to be Arsenal looking at a new striker?" And he said, "Nope." He said Manchester United were talking to the agent for Mr. Benjamin Sesko.
Yes, Benjamin Sesko. I have heard things about Benjamin Sesko. I quite like Benjamin Sesko. I think he'd do a good job, and he wouldn't take all the limelight away from Haaland, Hoyland. It's because they've got they just sound the same. Hoyland. He won't take too much of that away. Yeah, VAR. If I do it one more time, I'm gonna have to give myself a red card because I've said it twice now. I'm going to say Rasmus. I can't get in trouble then. Yeah, because from what I'm gathering as well is United could change their setup next year, the way that we actually play. We might not end up playing the 4-2-1-3. We might be playing with the two strikers like we used to back in the 90s and stuff like that. We don't actually know, because we don't know who's coming in, but that could always be an option.
Can I actually link the who's next for the job with this summer rebuild and pose a question to you?
Go on.
In a world that it is currently the bookie's favourite, Mauricio Pochettino walks out of one job into the suite of Old Trafford, is it possible that we could see a more defensive first, compact formation, aka three at the back, your two key left and right backs bombing forward, a more compact midfield with a tandem of Sesko and Rasmus at the top? Not the Manchester United way. Definitely a lot more of 1-0 to United type football. But would that sort of move to two kind of say, look, okay, we're going to get a solid spine then of three centre backs or three centre midfielders, and then all the width is going to come from your left and right back?
You know what? I actually wouldn't be against it. I really wouldn't at all. With the way that we've played this season, I think we need a change in style and formation. And I hope whoever does come in will allow us to be able to do that. I mean, defensively, we've been shocking. We need to solidify up more defense. I mean, attackively, we've been shocking as well, to be fair. But how you've just described it then, I think frees the attack a lot more because they're not having to worry about defending the wings as such, if that makes sense. If you get where I'm coming from.
Plus, with a three at the back system, you could see Luke Shaw coming in on the inside of whoever ends up playing at left back and maybe doing a bit of what he does with England, and you're getting his distribution still on the pitch because he has got a good, decent bit of distribution, and you're giving that extra layer of, I suppose, coverage in the season where you might not want to spend all your resources buying everything at centre back that you need this season. So it will kind of provide a duality in terms of, well, Luke can do a job there. We know he does a job there, and there's an option there.
So let me pose this to you then, Rebel. From what you're saying here, so the three centre backs and obviously your wing backs as such. If we, for instance, had Dallo on one side, and let's say we do get this Italian Bellanova guy, and he's obviously on the other side at the wing-back position. And we had, for instance, Luke Shaw playing just as the left-sided centre-back there, with Branthwaite in the middle, and then Martinez on the other side. Do you think that would massively improve the defence?
Yes, because number one, you've 3 defenders sitting there, and they'll be able to cover each other. Number 2, it probably allows you to get away with just that singular purchase, and that you'd have probably Kambala and Maguire in the supporting roles to get you through that season. So you're only buying 1 left back, and you've got 1 centre back. So that's only 2 of your transfers. If Seth goes another one, that's 3 transfers, which allows you then possibly to go for either one kind of difference maker in the centre midfield to kind of, I suppose, replace Casemiro and Eriksen, or allows you to go for maybe 2 25, 30 million pound players. And I suppose it gives you a base then to kind of assess, okay, we spent this much now. Have we the option to go for another player? Do we wait till January, see what way our injuries go? But I think it's a dramatic improvement to your defence, because we were shipping goals for fun this year. I don't know if you remember back in school when people used to do the pants game on people when they were not looking. We got pantsed day in, day out, and that has to change for Manchester United Football Club. But Braithwaite, I'm just kind of commissioned to the idea of that 1 centre back at that price point coming in. I'm not necessarily sure that I've seen enough from Braithwaite to justify that we could go out and maybe spend 60 million on him, because we've been burnt by English centre backs before. I would be kind of hesitant to go there with that, but I think it kind of provides us with an opportunity maybe to fix that midfield, with Shaw being, I suppose, your starting. And obviously, if we want then to rotate the Italian out, we'll say just using him as the scenario, Shaw can move out to that wide spot. Maguire, Kambala can come in, and I suppose it allows you to settle your defence positions. I would like, though, then us to integrate one of the younger left backs in as a kind of a support player for those times when we can't move Shaw out to the left back. I know you could change it.
We've got to remember. We have got Malacia.
Something tells me there's something deeply wrong with that young man. I
think there is, but we have got him. He is on the Manchester United books, and he is a left back. I know he's not played at all this season, but he is there still to be an option.
I agree. I suppose. I think though he probably might be sold, because the fact that he had to go back under the knife suggests that they've seen something in whatever injury that was.
Yeah.
That suggests that they need to move on from him. Now, I loved Malacia. He wore his hat in his sleeve. He played with passion. He'd done everything that we asked him to do, and he was cheap. And it's unfortunate that injuries might be taking away his top-level career from him. But I think the likelihood of us being able to recoup that money and reutilize it for someone at a similar price point at least is there.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Obviously, the other players that have been mentioned as well in the past is obviously Frimpong. He's been mentioned a lot, but United aren't getting him for anything less than probably about 55, 60 million with the form he's been in recently. So I'm not even looking down there because apparently, if you believe certain people, Manchester United have 35 million to spend this summer, which is utter rubbish and garbage. Because we've always got money to spend, and obviously we're going to be selling players. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's on his way out. We already know this. And obviously, if Ten Hag goes, that could be then seeing Onana leaving.
Bruno is a big name,
possibly. Rashford may possibly go, depending on who comes into him, if it's the right price. Anthony may go.
Sancho.
Yes, Sancho, Greenwood. And then you've got Varane coming off the books as well. Lindelof's coming off the books. Casemiro's coming off the books. Yeah, there's a lot of money being freed up.
Keaton's retiring. The Turkish goalkeeper.
Yeah,
He's
Ben
been
Deere,
moved
he's
on again.
leaving. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of money coming free for Manchester United. So United fans, do not worry about that.
Can I ask you one last quick question before you move on to FA Cup?
Yes.
We've named a lot of players there, and let's just say 75% of the players that we've named are moved on. We then have a squad that is completely and utterly unfamiliar with each other. And with the Euros planked in the middle of your pre-season preparation, the time that you have to get everybody acquainted and singing from the same hymn sheet under a new gaffer, if that is the case, all becomes a bit of a problem. And is there a point where you have to say whether you want to get rid of the player or not, that you just have to go, no, I need some sort of a status quo?
I think so, to be fair. But, I think until we find out what's happening with the manager and who the manager is going to be in, all this is going to be down to Dan Ashworth and co. I think they'll already have a list of players who they know they need to get rid of and who's going to stay. So they'll already know. And the manager, I don't think, will have a say in who's going to be staying and who's going to be going, to be fair. Unless the manager comes in and is like, right, for instance, I'm sorry to pick on him, but I'm going to pick on him again. If the manager comes in, for instance, and says, Marcus Rashford does not fit how I'm wanting to play. If you can get a good amount of money for him, I'm happy to let him go. Maybe that's the only way. I don't really know. I think PSG would be a fantastic club for Marcus Rashford. It's fitting there so well because they're looking for big star names, a big star boy, and their biggest asset's gone. Mbappe is going to Madrid. We all know this. So, a perfect replacement.
Respectably suggest a different league for Marcus Rashford, and that is the Bundesliga. And I think he could actually do bits with Harry Kane at Munich.
Yeah, he could. I think you're right. He could. But I was trying to be a bit cheeky. I don't think it's going to happen. Because obviously, when I saw the links to Pochettino with Manchester United, I know we've been linked with it loads of times, and it is only hearsay at the moment. I got in touch with somebody straight away and was like, does that potentially mean Manchester United is going to buy Harry Kane next in the summer? Because we're looking for a striker, but he just laughed at me, and so that killed that.
So FA Cup.
Yes, FA Cup. We will keep this short and sweet. It's the FA Cup preview. Well, it's not a preview. It's just our thoughts and predictions of how we think things are going to go. So yeah, Rebel, FA Cup. Interesting fact, Manchester United have never been beaten back-to-back in a cup final by the same club. What are your thoughts? And what is your prediction?
Well, records are made to be broken. And we broke a record that I never want to see broken again, in that we finished Premier League season with negative goal difference, which is an absolute shambles. But obviously, when it comes to the cup, I'm going to be take it to the blue, you-know-whats, beat that Baldy, and stick Pep home with a bit of a sour taste in his mouth. But as much as I hope that this club can get the job done, I think it's asking a lot, given that we've essentially been playing patch me up with rubber bands and chewing gum on our players for the entire season. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 5 Jaffa cakes left in this packet of Jaffa cakes that I've been munching on during the show. And it could be as many as 5 goals that will go past Manchester United at Wembley. It's anyone's guess whether we can score 1 or 2. But I think it's going to annoy me because it is my birthday on Saturday. And I will be watching the game. So I think I might have to have as many points as I think there's going to be goals going in on Andre Onana at Wembley in order to get me through it, because using my brain, and if I was to put a bet on, which I'd be very careful in my selections, I would have to say that City are almost unbackable in terms of lifting cup. Now, the stat of we've never lost back-to-back against the same opposition. The one stat I've taken from this week is that I have seen City have been celebrating rather heavily, given that they have FA Cup coming up. They are without their number one goalkeeper, but Ortega is actually a fine keeper, and I think people would be doing well maybe to kind of have an old knock and see if there's opportunity, because we saw what Palmer has done at Chelsea when he was, I suppose, taken away from having a logjam in front of him. Jack Grealish was out in the round 10 allegedly and seen leaving nightclub at 5 o'clock. He had Rodri, who was more significant for City, in tow with him. And there's a lot of other, I suppose, entertainment headlines, for want of a better word, that have been floated around the great unwashed rags of the British media and the global media in the last number of days, which suggests that maybe they're not bothered. Maybe FA Cup is not something that they really care about, and they're kind of going, well, if the lads that we've kept in reserve and told you're playing FA Cup against United that week can get it done, grand, but it's not going to make or break our season if we don't win it. The question really is managing Haaland, because I think, given our problems at the back, there's probably 2 or 3 goals on him alone, and Phil Foden is hit form at the worst possible moment for Manchester United, and he would be the tormentor in chief, kind of, I suppose, either taking on shots himself or looking for that opportunity to link up with Haaland. And that's before you even mention the Belgian maestro, that is Kevin De Bruyne, who could probably cause all the damage on his own without either of the aforementioned players. So, I suppose, to summarize, I'm expecting a long, painful, misery day. I hope, I pray, and I'm looking up there at my mother saying, if you're going to give me anything from upstairs, give me a victory for Manchester United on Saturday.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to be argumentative, as always, Rebel. I think Manchester United are going to win the FA Cup. We are going to go to Wembley and we are going to beat City in the FA Cup final, because I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. No, but I think we can do it. We've got a lot of players coming back from injury. Martinez is back, which is a massive bonus. We're actually starting to get a back line back again. Rasmus is finding his goals again a little bit. I think we've got a very, very good chance, but we need to start strong. I think United will win 2-1. That is going to be my prediction. It's going to be 2-1 to Man United, and Manchester United will lift the FA Cup.
But the real question is, do you believe in Joe Hendry?
Oh dear.
Sorry, wrestling reference. I had to do it. Tony, I hope you enjoyed that.
Well, the link for this channel is in the chat for anybody that is over on the Full Time Sports Network. Please do come over and subscribe onto this one, because when we hit 20, there will be an announcement. We are on 14, so you've missed the chance again today. We haven't got up any subscribers today, I don't believe. It's not updated anyway. So you have missed the chance today. So there's always next time.
Cotlam, one question. What do we have in store for the viewers during, obviously, international foosball and the silly season that is the transfer window?
Yeah. So what's coming up first, most of all, importantly, is I'm going to be back at the weekend covering the FA Cup final right here on Spotlight MUFC. And obviously over on the Full Time Sports Network. Solo from the Man United agenda. How are you, buddy? Hope you are doing fantastically well. Pleasure to see you. So yeah, that's going to be happening this weekend. I'm going to be here covering the Manchester United FA Cup final against City. So make sure you're here for that. You don't want to listen to them on TV. Come and listen to my beautiful voice. instead. And obviously, during the internationals that are happening, we're going to be linking up with Tottenham Hotspur Till I Die, doing some shows with them. They're going to be covering some games for us. Obviously, time differences and everything. Some people have got different times off work. We have a end of the season award show coming up next week, I believe this is, where Rebel is going to be picking the winner of each category. Now, there's going to be a couple of categories, but he doesn't know who's getting put forward for those categories. I'm going to pick those, and Rebel gets to choose the winners. And obviously, in regards to transfer news, whenever there is some sort of update in regards to transfers and news, we will try to be the first place to bring it to you.
In terms of awards, Fred the Red, Fred the Red, Fred the Red, Fred the Red, and Fred the Red.
You said this to me not so long ago, actually. I should have known that would come in, to be fair. But yeah, no. Rebel, before we end off, mate, tell everybody where they can find you.
On Twitter or X, depending on what you want to call it, I'm Kerry_Rebel. On here, the Spotlight MUFC, doing collabs with Tottenham Hotspur Till I Die, Full-Time Sports Network. So yeah, generally just within the family that is our FTSN wider family.
Smashing stuff. And like I said, you can find me right here. You can find me on the Full-Time Sports Network. I'm sometimes on THFC Till I Die as well. It depends. Yeah, no worries, Solo. Not a problem at all, buddy. And you can find me on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. It is FTSN Colm over there. So,
actually,
Rebel,
Colin, before you do sign up, I just realized I do have to apologize because apparently the thumbs up is offensive now. So apologies in advance to anybody that's offended by thumbs up.
Is that better? Can I do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I cheerio.
I don't know. But yeah, again, everyone, thank you so much. Please do like, share, subscribe, go and create a YouTube account for your dog, your cat, your goldfish, whoever. Hit the subscribe button on FTSN and on Spotlight MUFC. It does help massively. And we will catch you all next time. But until then, goodbye.